Before I started running, I used to look at the other runners and think, how do they manage to run multiple days a week while having kids and a full-time job? But at the same time, my energy was everywhere. I would need multiple cups of coffee to stay awake every day, and I would wake up every day not feeling rested. I have a full-time job and many other responsibilities. I would never imagine that one day I would pick up running and be able to do that consistently while my career continues to grow and my life continues to expand. I didn't start running to become a runner. I started because I had a problem. When I was 30, my right lung collapsed spontaneously. And somewhere in that recovery, I thought to myself, I really need to take care of my body. So I went into that first run with a very, very cautious mind. And when I finished, I remember thinking, wow, I was actually able to finish. My breathing felt smoother than I thought and wasn't as weak as I thought. And I felt like, I can do this again. Since I started running, what I found wasn't just a solution to the lung problem I have. I found that running gave me a frame. And once I have a frame, everything else in life not only didn't fall apart, they actually has somewhere to hang. What I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's what happened to when I stopped worrying about running taking over my life and started letting it hold my life together. I'm one of the living examples of this. Before running, I was spending more time at work but getting less done. I'll have coffee after coffee. I would start to have a shorter cycle of feeling unfulfilled. And because of that, I took more responsibilities for work, for my family, thinking that would be my solution to my unsatisfied feelings. Rewinding back to when I moved to Canada when I was 16, having to reestablish my friend circle here, I had no structure at that time. Loneliness, sadness, happiness, all those thoughts just stacked and stacked with nowhere to go. Fast forward when I was 32, I started running. At that time, my plan was the simplest thing. Just go to park run every Saturday and run a 5K a week. I wanted to keep the routine as simple as possible, and I chose the same route every single time. That was the plan to hold myself accountable. That's it. After a few weeks, I noticed something shifted. I started doing better quality work in less time and had more energy for the people around me. I didn't have the same fatigue feeling after working out for some reason. Somehow I found way more meaning in what I was doing and way more enjoyment in my day-to-day. Running not only didn't take over my life, it made my life better. But until one day, I felt like everything has reversed. Instead of having more energy, I had less. I had to nap all the time and I was saying no to people. I didn't notice it as a big issue at all, and I thought that was just part of the process, building a running habit. But then my girlfriend at that time asked me a question that shook me. She asked me, why are you always tired? Why can't you just spend more time with me? And looking back, I can trace it to one decision. When I first started, I thought being a runner meant running 5-6 days a week. That's just what runners do, right? I saw everyone posting weekly mileage online. My YouTube feed is filled with coaches telling me what training plan I needed. And somewhere in that noise, I made what I now think was a pretty crazy decision. I signed up for my first marathon. That was a decision that changed my relationship with running. The cost wasn't just time. It was recovery or the lack of it. I was napping after every long run and saying no to plan. And the thing that nobody told me that recovery after 30 works differently. Your body doesn't bounce back the way it did at 22. And I call this your scaffolding, the support structure around your running that actually makes it sustainable. I made a video on recovery mistakes beginners make and how to build your scaffolding properly. And if I were to do it again, I would sign up for a much shorter race. Or honestly, no race at all, until I built a proper running habit. Here's the thing I want to tell you. There is a version of running where you don't have to run 5-6 days a week, or even 3 to 4 times a week. Thinking back to the time before I trained for my marathon, when I only run 2 to 3 times a week, that is already way more than enough to get the effect I experienced. I had more energy, I had a clear head, and with less burnout. You don't need to train for a marathon or any race to feel the difference. The biggest mistake I made, and I'm sure many others also, was sign up for a race without knowing the level of commitment it requires. And that's where most beginners get burnt out from running. They started at a volume their life can't sustain. And they never plan around it. And they just go all in. The reality is that picking up running doesn't mean you have to go all in. You should test it out first. Allow yourself to adapt and learn to hear from your body throughout this beginner process. Here's what I would do differently if I were to restart. Plan your running habits 1 month at a time, not one run at a time. Pick days that you would 100% commit to running and pick 2 to 3 times a week for that. And then commit to that schedule 1 month at a time. Why 1 month? Because that gives you enough runway to get past the fun gap. That's the stretch where running doesn't feel good yet, and you have the time to learn the lesson you need for the next block. For me, in my first 6 months of running, the fun gap was short. I was getting faster every week. The adrenaline was fresh and everything felt like progress. But the gap that almost broke me was between the 6 months and the 1.5 year mark. That's when the gains stopped coming so easily. The most frustrating part during that time was knowing I could run better, but for some reason, I just couldn't break through. And what I didn't realize at that time, and that took me over a year to figure out, is that my heart rate wasn't the problem, my breathing was. Most breathing advice for runners skip the most important step. Before you can fix your breathing, you have to figure out what actually went wrong with yours. I built a framework for this. I call it a diagnose and match method. It changed how I think about breathing entirely. I got a full video about it. I'll link it at the end as well. So that 6 to 12 months into running where no progress was made was the real fun gap for me. The long stretch where nothing seems to change. And the only way through it is to keep showing up. 3 runs a week until your body catches up to what you're asking for it. And while we're talking about a simple plan, if you can, try running before work. In my experience, running before work is the best. With the right amount of running, you're warming up your brain, pumping more blood before going into work. You actually do better at work. Most beginners save it for the end of the day and found themselves too tired before they even start running. And I want you to know this so far, I haven't tell you to sign up for a marathon yet. I also never asked you to even start a training plan. All I'm asking you is to commit to running 1 month at a time. That's the key. Most people in the world never choose to run a marathon or start a formal training plan while having a healthy running habit. And those people still got all the benefits from running while not having it taking over our lives. Now there's an opposite version of the problem. After you start running, you can become obsessive with it. If you haven't started running yet, it might sound crazy, but you might also know someone who is. They are the ones who can't stop thinking about running. And from the outside, they just couldn't stop running more and more. And I was one of them too. The thing is, once you start getting the benefit I just mentioned, and on top of that, you start to see your VO2 max just get higher, that dopamine you get just make you want to do more. You want to make ways and make more time away from life so you can run more. And honestly, there's no problem with that. But it becomes dangerous when it starts to affect other parts of your life. And there's just another level of balance that you need. I remember having a conversation with my ex-girlfriend at the time. In the first few months, she was supportive. She would run with me and she would come to park run with me. But it got to a point where after every single park run, I had to nap. And she wasn't happy about it. She thought I could have spent the time doing something else with her. For me at that time, I thought I would get support from her for being so obsessed with something healthy for me. But in reality, the quality time I was able to spend with her is what matters to the relationship. That was the state I was at throughout the first 6 months when I picked up running. I allowed myself to continuously be tired and had no energy for anything else in life. If there's one thing that's most important, it's learning how to listen to your body and respect the signals and pause when you need to. More importantly, you need to remind yourself and ask yourself this: Do you prioritize running more in life, or do you prioritize life more? There's a difference between running because it's part of the plan and you love it, versus you're running because it's an obligation that's costing you relationship and the rest of what your body needs. The goal of a healthy running habit is not to bend your life around running. It is to build running into your life in a way that actually lasts. Running 2 to 3 times a week for 100 weeks consecutively. To me, that's way more important than running 5 times a week for 3 months and then take 2 months off. Consistency beats volume every single time. But consistency isn't just about showing up. It's about knowing when to pull back. The thing that kept me running for more than 100 weeks wasn't disciplined. It was understanding my body from a week-to-week basis, a day-to-day basis. The biggest change I made the past year is allowing myself to keep running without having to stick with the plan. Because often, the plan is the thing that makes me overwork myself. Here's what listening to your body actually looks like for me. After every run, and honestly, any time of the day, I'll check in. Have my energy gone up or down? Does my part of the body felt off? For me, it's usually show up in my legs first. That's the obvious one. But the signal I paid most attention to is my breathing when I was not running. If I'm overworking myself, my breathing gets shorter and it doesn't feel smooth. When I do it right, my breathing is smooth. And as a result, I have more energy for the day. Running as a beginner is all about building that literacy, the literacy of understanding of your body's signal. Once you have it, you get something most runners chase and never find. You have so much more control and freedom towards what you want to do and what you don't want to do. The biggest thing to remember is this. Running doesn't have to be the thing that takes over your life. Instead, it should be the thing that holds everything in life together. The goal is for running to be so effortless that you don't have to think about it. You just wake up one day and go do it. That's the version of running I want for you. If you've been holding back because you think running will consume your life, I totally understand. I've been on both sides of that fear. But here's what I know now. Running doesn't ask for 6 days a week. It doesn't ask for your weekends. It doesn't ask for you to sacrifice your relationships. You get to control what running means to you. The rest is learning how to be patient with yourself and the progress you make. If you're someone who's been holding back because of this, drop a comment. I want to hear where you're at. My name is Felix, just figuring things out one run at a time. And if you want to go deeper, I've got 3 videos that connect directly to what we just talked about. One on why your heart rate spikes on easy runs and how to actually know you're running the right effort. One on my breathing framework, the diagnose and match method. And one that recovery after 30 and the scaffolding you need to make running sustainable. Pick the next video and I'll see you on the next one.